All right, everybody, another quick one here. Well, probably not. Looks like some more police officers have been attacked and killed this evening, and looks like there's still a lot of other violence going on, looting, things like that. So today I kind of ran into one of the supporters of this crap when I was making a comment about on the CB about how lucky we are that Obama and Congress spent all that time warning us from white guys abiding law citizens who had rifles and Bibles. Weren't we lucky they put us on alert for them? They might go hunting or go to church. So this a-hole anyway seemed to think everything is a-okay, hunky-dory, that what's going on, it's necessary. And then pretty much said I was the one with the problem and yada yada and all their bullshit. And tried to say, well, the violence is over, it's over. And it's like, really? I don't know what you've been, but that's their spiel anyway. Deny, just deny, change subject, do whatever. That's part of their tactics. Anyhow, so some people might think, yeah, why? Well, what are you so adamant about? And who cares anymore and stuff? Well, have you ever been a victim of crime? Because I see like these people like Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel and all these people, these lily white freaking a-holes who lived in all white communities their whole lives probably and stuff and everything, never had any crime perpetrated against them anyhow anyway. And so I'm gonna make a couple points here and let you know part about my life, how crime affected me. So when I was 16, I was walking home from a friend's house and two yahoos started following me down the street. And I knew things wasn't going to go right. Just from, I seen them where they were sitting on the corner back in the shadows by a building there. And so that's normally where I crossed the street and walked up that side of the street. This was down in Florida, in Lake Worth, West Palm, kind of right there on the line where the two meet there. It was 10th Avenue and Congress or something like that. Anyhow, so I didn't cross the street. I started walking down the road on the side I was already on. And then next thing I know, I looked behind me. They were coming down the sidewalk behind me. So then I crossed the street in mid-block and went over to the other side, walked a little further, and here they come. They're down closer to me. And finally I stopped and turned around. And they just kind of walked. First it was like, hey man, hey, yeah, how's it going? All this. Now, this is when I was 16. I think I had to be home at 10 o'clock or 11. Can't remember, but either way I was running late. So if it was like 10, it was like maybe like 10:30 and I was late, and I was thinking, man, my mom's gonna have a fit, getting home late and stuff. And if it was 11, then it might have been closer to 12. And but anyhow, so they were like, hey, you want to buy any dope, this and that, got any dope to sell, blah blah blah, how about a gun, blah blah blah, this and that, all this other stuff. I was like, hey, no man, I ain't in messing with none of that. I gotta go, I gotta get home. And so they were like, oh, all right, and they kind of turned to walk away, and I didn't wait long enough to turn and walk away. I should have waited till they got further away, because as soon as I turned around, they had a metal pipe or nunchucks or something, and they cracked me right across my head. And next thing I know, I was on one knee with my hand up on my head, and how I went from standing to that position, I don't know. And how long that took, I don't know. All I know is I was down on one knee, my hand on my head, looking at the sidewalk, and the lights all leaving tracers from the cars going. There were cars still going down the street. And this was right in front of a row of houses line that street, right on the sidewalk between the street and the front yard lawn. And nobody stopped or nothing. And so it was kind of in a daze. I wanted to move, I wanted to get up, but nothing was moving or working. And I could feel, the hot blood running down my arm and down my neck and down my back and everywhere else. And still hadn't occurred to me what had happened. And then the one asshole kicked me and knocked me over on my back on the grass on the sidewalk there where they meet. And so I started kind of getting my bearings, and the other asshole stood back in the grass back behind me, I guess, and so in case I tried to do something, he could whack me again or something. But anyhow, they just wanted to rob me. I didn't have any cash on me. I was carrying a little portable cassette player back then. It was before Walkmans and all that. And so when he saw I didn't have any money in my wallet, he made me take my shoes off. And well, before that, when he said, give me your money, I said, I ain't got no money. And he said, give me your money. And I said, I ain't got any. I gave it to your mother last night. Well, that got me a kick in the stomach too. So, but I was starting to get my bearings and thinking, man, I can get this guy in front of me, but I don't know if I can turn around quick enough before I get whacked again. So I was just I took my shoes off and stuff, and then he looked at the radio and threw that down. See, when they rob you and stuff, they don't necessarily want everything you have, because then, that unless you have the serial numbers of the money that's in your wallet, you really can't prove they took anything that's yours. So they didn't want the radio or anything else. They just wanted money. And when they saw I didn't have any money and stuff, they finally took off. But before that, when I was laying there and still bleeding like a stuck pig, he even made a comment. Man, you're really freaking bleeding, man. And so the point is that they could have killed me. Whenever you do something like that, when you take an object or anything, or even if you punch somebody, you can kill them. And then they're crying in court as well. That wasn't our intention. And it's a shame we have a legal system that will take that into account. That when somebody does something like that, that wasn't their intention, and they can get off with it. If you ask me, anything like that should be at least attempted murder. But anyhow, so the point is, they could have killed me. They didn't care. They didn't care. All these people out there doing stuff like that and a lot of other things, they don't care. And I don't know if Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel and all these people and everything understand this about crime in America and what the cops have to deal with and what kind of people they're dealing with. In 99% of the cases, you are dealing with people that don't care if you live or die. So anyway, these two yahoos took off. I got up and started running down the street behind them, but my head was ringing like a bell and everything was getting fuzzy again. And I started thinking, man, if I black out, they can really, stomp me, whatever. So I ran up, banged on a door. Nobody answered there. I ran up, banged on another door. I could still see these yahoos running down the road. And these two kids, I don't know, 12 or 13, answered the door, saw me standing there with the blood all over me. And I just said, hey, call the cops. And the door slammed, and I heard, Mom! So within like seconds, this woman came out, and she's like, oh my God. And I was like, I just got jumped, call the cops. And I turned, and I was like, tell them I went this way. And she like grabbed me, and she said, you're not going anywhere. She told her kids to go get a towel and some ice. And I mean, in a minute, she called the cops, and within 2 minutes, or I'd say 2 minutes, the sheriff's deputy was there, quick. And I jumped up and said, "Come on, we can still catch them. They went this way." And he was like, "Sit down, sit down." And so they called the ambulance, took me to the hospital, put stitches in my head and all that shit. Took me to the station, took a report and everything. I guess they were trying to get to the truth because they kind of played good cop, bad cop. The one guy was talking to me was, pretty nice and everything. And granted, this whole time my head is ringing like a bell. And I just want to go home. And by now it's like, I don't know what, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And so then the sergeant kept coming through and said, "I think it was a drug deal gone bad," and blah, 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 and all this and there. And I'm like, man, I was just walking home from my friends. So anyhow, took me home. And, the doctors, the hospital told my mother to keep me awake all night and all that, not to let me go to sleep. And she swore forever that I sat up all night and talked to her. And I don't remember a thing about that. And next day, I couldn't remember my best friend's phone number. Still have trouble with numbers, but I really had trouble for a long time from that. And my friend's grandfather wanted to give me a 44 and have us go out, drive around looking for these guys and stuff, and I passed on that. And it's like, let the cops handle it, I guess. I don't know if I run into them by accident. It's another story. But anyhow, they never caught him anyway. And so, but that's the thing. A lot of these people that we're supposed to be bleeding hearts for and stuff, if they found you lying on the street needing medical attention, they would steal your wallet and shoes and leave you there to die. And that's my point. Why do we get upset? Why are we shedding even one tear for any of these people? Rodney King types, whatever. Now there's reports that this Floyd guy robbed people, that he robbed a woman and put a gun, she was pregnant, and put a gun to her stomach. Why should I shed a tear, if that's true, for this guy, for anything? Yes, what the cop did was wrong. The cop's not supposed to be judge and jury and all that and executioner. But why does our country have to burn for people who would leave you lying in the street to die and probably take your wallet before they walked away? Why? Why do we have spend so much money to feed, clothe, house, give free medical and dental attention to, educations to all these criminals, and we can't afford to build schools or pay teachers or pay cops decent enough money so they can retire decent? Why are there people who will look at the diet in a prison, and if they decide that these people who would leave you to die in the street and steal from you, most of them probably put you in the condition to die in the street, if they're not getting enough calories, we're supposed to be concerned. If they're not getting enough protein, we're supposed to be concerned. Oh my goodness, they will sue the prison system, they'll sue the state, they'll sue everybody. And the thing with that all is, and why it is that way, and why there's more attention given to when cops kill somebody or it's a racial matter and stuff, is because they can politically charge that. And there can be lawsuits and there can be lots of money. When these gangs in Chicago kill each other, there's no money in that. You're not going to see Al Sharpton show up over that. You're not going to see Black Lives Matter up in the streets outraged that that's going on or telling them to knock it off. There's nothing to gain out of that for them. Nothing. No political advantage, no lawsuits, no nothing. Same thing, why these lawyers and everything bend over backwards and give a damn about convicts in prison not getting the right diets and this and everything like that? Because they're getting paid. That's big business for them. So can you kind of see my point? These are people who would leave you to die in the street. And I don't think all these lily whites like Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel and all these other people, I don't think they understand that. They've never had to deal with that. Stephen Colbert has never been whacked over the back of the head and had his skull cracked open by some cold-hearted son of a bitch that could care if you die. Never. He's never been a police officer and had to deal with a person like that. And that's why I say when I see, you see some guy and he's got a knife or something and everything, and the cop tells him to put it down, and he don't put it down, all this, and even though the guy, he's 20 feet from the cop or whatever, and the cop shoots him, I don't care. I don't care no more. If you're dumb enough, if I was to get dumb enough to take a knife and go out and start some shit to where the cops had to come, and I'm out there with a knife and I'm telling them, F you, this and that, I'm going to kill you or whatever, or even if I do that and then start to walk away and the cop shot me, guess what? Whose fault is it? Whose freaking fault is it? Why does the news media and all this, you know why? Because it's politically charged. They have people brain trained enough that they should be upset about this and make it a political issue. So, why should we care as Americans? Why anymore? Why should our country burn and go through all this all the time? I can understand, hey, this cop could have got up. He could have got up. But then again, Mr. Floyd could have not done whatever he did, passing counterfeit bills or whatever to make the clerk call the cops. And do you know that the clerk has been threatened because he called the cops, or she called the cops? I don't know if it was a man or a woman. Really? That's the thug mentality. See, because even if you're just a pot smoker, when pot's illegal and stuff, if you're doing something on the other side of the law, then the cops are automatically become your enemy. And that mindset sets in. It doesn't matter if it's underage drinking or smoking dope or whatever. Oh, jeepers, the cops. Where's the cops? Where's the cops? It doesn't matter. Then if you do something else, and you get into that clique where now you're kind of, you get that badge, you're the tough guy, this and that and everything, whatever, and you keep following that lifestyle, the more you're going to develop that. And the more the police try and control all that, the more the whole community is going to have something against the cops. I can remember back when crack and all that first started, and the gangs all started and stuff. Go back and look at the news from back then. All the African American communities, what was their big complaint? The cops don't come down there enough. The cops don't patrol down there. They never see police officers in their neighborhoods. They have all this crime. They have all these gangs moving in. They never see a cop. So the cops say, okay, we're going to step up and we're going to move into these neighborhoods. And that's what they did. And then after a while, you start hearing, oh, it's the cops. The cops are the bad guys. Well, once these gangs move into the neighborhoods, if you're on the side of the cops, then you're the enemy too. And you better not get out of line because they will whack you too. And that's terrorist mentality. That's no different than KKK mentality. It's just being done by someone who's black instead of someone who's white. We're going to terrorize your community into submission, and you're going to see things our way and not society's way and not the law's way. Just go south of the border. Go down there where them cartels rule everything in those towns. Do you think it's any different right here, right now, in some of our neighborhoods? Any different? The mentality? The cops are the enemy. The government's the enemy. The police are or society's the enemy, whitey's the enemy, and our political leaders better snap out of this let's coddle everybody for a vote stuff and start saying, you know what, this is here's the way an organized civil society is supposed to operate, and if you don't like it, or if you operate outside those bounds, you're going to pay the price. If you choose the life of being a criminal, you're going to pay the price. It's like I said before, hey, a kid, I understand giving somebody another chance and a chance to repent and things like that. I've done messed up stuff in my life. I never hurt anybody, jumped anybody, or mugged anybody like I explained happened to me. But, if by the time you're 19, 20 years old, you're still doing shit that would require police attention and drawing attention to yourself, and that's the kind of life you're choosing, and you think that's hip, and that the cops are wrong and everything else, you have a screw loose. And if you've made that choice after, say, that age, what the hell should I care what the cops do to you? What the hell should America care what the cops do to you? If you made those choices, I don't care if you're white, black, brown, whatever it is. Why should we care about people who would leave you if you needed help and were laying in the street bleeding, and you had on a pair of nice sneakers? They would take your friggin' shoes and your wallet and leave you to die. Why do we care? Why should we care? We're told by media and other sources all the time, this is what you got to care about. This is what should upset you. You better start stepping back and thinking about it for yourself. You're being led around by the nose, told this is what you should think about, this and that. Anybody who listens to these anything say, well, I'm a racist or something like that. No, you don't know me. I've had black friends my whole lives. One of the first times I heard the N-word, I was called an N-word lover by one of my other friends' parents. My friend and one of my black friends got in a fight. And then when we broke it up and everything, my white friend was like, it's his fault and blah, blah, blah. And we were like, no, it was your fault, man. You shouldn't have done it, And he got pissed off and took off and went home. The next day I went over to his house to see if he's going to come play football and stuff, and his father answered the door. Told me his son wasn't allowed to play with no N lover. I had another white friend. We used to play he had a big field next to his house. We were playing softball one day, and they just shingled their house. Them ceramic type shingles on the siding. Anyway, I hit the ball and I pulled it really good, and it went over and bam, sounded like a cannon. Hit the side of the house, busted a bunch of them shingles. His mother opened the window, looked out, saw the house, started screaming about how they just had that done and blah, 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 and all this. And I used to be a good kid till I started hanging out with the N-words. I had plenty of other black friends. I had bad experiences with black people too. It didn't turn me into racist. When I was living down there in Florida too, is when all the Cubans came in and stuff. There was a Cuban kid and his sister that came to Lake Worth High School. Now in Cuba, I don't know if they still do, but back then, you dressed for school. This kid had on dress pants, polished shoes, a white shirt and a tie. His sister, the preppy, the school skirt down past her knees, the black shoes, like the Cuban girls would wear, them flats and stuff and everything, and come to school and everything. And we're on the bus leaving, and this kid guarded his sister everywhere they went. Well, a number of the black, actually, pretty much the whole bus was black except for me, one other white kid, and these Cuban kids. Starts talking about how his sister should want his big, and all this and everything like that. And at first they sat there and they took it and stuff, and then the Cuban, told him knock it off, and he jumped up and he's going back there. Yeah, what you gonna do about what you, and all shit and everything. And so then I jumped up and said, hey man, leave him alone. Now the bus driver, seeing all this and hearing all, he got the mirror and stuff, and he's hearing it, and I was sitting up towards the front of the bus. And as soon as I tried to go back towards the back, because the Cuban kid was sitting in the back seat, the very back seat, with his sister, I got 4 or 5 other black guys in front of me. What you gonna do about it, white, blah, 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 all this, everything. I turned to the bus driver, hey man, ain't you gonna do something? It was a black bus driver. He didn't look, turn around, nothing. He was like, hey, ain't you gonna do nothing? And that guy in the back kept going, like they got in a fight. He got in a fight with the Cuban kid. So I started fighting with the black kids, trying to get past them to get to the back of the bus. And that's finally when the bus driver pulled over and got under control and stuff and everything. Now, I never took the bus again. Screw that. Who needs that zoo? So I never saw that Cuban kid and his sister at school anymore. I don't know if his parents took him out or what. But down there in Florida, it was a zoo. It was a zoo. My whole gym class was me and one other white kid. Oh, you're saying a zoo is because black people there? No, I'm just saying the mentality there was a zoo. It was crazy. You had guys that were left back like 2 years. So you got like, and have been in and out of juvie with, freshmen and stuff. Or actually, I think Florida didn't have a junior high. So you even had them with like 7th and 8th graders. You had these guys, almost friggin' 18 going after them, and white girls walking by and the black guys grabbing their, what's, hey, bitch, hey, all this. Now, I'm sorry. I'm telling you like it is, or like it was. That's the experiences I've had in my life. I'm sorry. I'm not saying white people don't do any less disgusting things. But I'm telling you. But even when I've seen all, I never grouped all black people in the same group that, hey, they're all the same. They're all like this. They're all criminals. They're all just any other group. But lately, here, all you ever hear about is all white people are racist. Everyone's got white privilege. I started working when I was 14. Washing dishes, my hands and my arms in the muck up to my elbows in a restaurant, washing dishes. Bought a bicycle with the money I made. Used to have to, at least once a week, same black kid and a couple of his friends come up, hey, white boy, why don't you give me that bike? Didn't turn me into a racist. Then on the other hand, down there, I had the Klan guys who would get on me for the black friends that I did have. I've always been like caught in the middle of crap, right down the road, right in the middle. It's even like when I started to profess Islam, and I try to explain to people, the Quran doesn't say to do these things that these people are doing, and you'd hear like Hannity and these other right-wing people and everything, make fun, the religion of peace and stuff like. I'd be like, hey man, I've said just as much stuff about the right wing and the evils of white people as I have anybody on the left or anything. I try and, keep a free mind, not be brain trained by either side. But I try and explain to people, hey, the Quran doesn't teach what these people are telling you it teaches, and the Prophet Muhammad never did any of these things or taught any of these things, and neither did his descendants, who were the legitimate leaders of Islam. All these things came after his time and their time. All these different doctrines and I don't even think in any of classical Islam times they taught like ISIS did and stuff. But probably more groups and things. But anyway, speaking of religion and stuff, there's some things I wanted to touch on that. I kind of got away from that with all these other things. That's the point I want to make is have you ever been a victim? Have you almost ever died because of crime? All you people who defend all this and see the looting and all that and mull it over, and see the people being attacked and mull it over, you governors, you Congress people, you've never suffered it. You have never suffered it. And I know it's going to come back from the black community. Well, you never suffered, a cop doing this or that or anything. How do you know? I haven't told you everything about my life yet. But I do know this. If you play with fire, you get burned, don't you? If you're out there doing stuff, that you shouldn't be doing, and you're the type of person who would injure another person to rob them and everything else like that, I'm not going to care about you. I don't give a damn. I don't care. I know there's a couple percent out there, maybe, are doing nothing, mind their own business. Perhaps. Cop with a bad day or something finds them and decides I really don't see how that happens, but could happen. I mean, I think most of the time, be doing something to draw their attention somehow, some way. I mean, I know I've seen videos on YouTube where it's just a black guy sweeping up in front of an apartment building or something like that, and he's like, I live here. And the cop's asking him what he's doing there and stuff. I know crap like that goes on. But I've been doing stuff I had every right to do and stuff, walking home from work and stuff, and had a cop asking me what I was doing around there. I didn't take it personal. So, anyway, we'll see you on the next one. Wish you all the best out there. God bless.